Hey there. What if your sermon idea could become a clear, organized, preach ready outline in minutes instead of hours and days? What if the notes you already have, even if they're kind of scattered, rough, or incomplete, what if it could be transformed into a sermon that flows, connects, and lands with impact? Let me ask you this. What if you had a tool that helps strengthen your message with structure, scripture, application, illustrations, and a stronger closing without replacing your voice or your calling? That's exactly what the Faith ToolBox Sermon Outliner and Sermon Enhancer were designed to do. It helps you take what God has already placed in your heart and develop it into a clear, powerful message you can preach with confidence. Now, in the last video, I showed you how to take your idea and find the verses with the Verse on Demand tool. Then we broke it down and literally exegeted scripture with the verse breakdown tool. Today, we're going to put it in a sermon outline. Let's get started. Okay, we're back in the Faith Toolbox dashboard, and this is what it looks like once you've logged in. And on the left, you have all of these tools. The last video, we went through Verse on Demand, and we also used the verse breakdown. Today, I want to scroll down a little bit further and actually construct an outline. If you remember, God's telling us to live with faith over fear. So today we're going to build our sermon outline. Now, again, this is not to build your sermon for you, although it will do that. It can do that. But this is to take whatever you've already got, your sermons, your messages, the message God gave you at 3 o'clock in the morning while you were sleeping in bed, and you put it all in here, and it helps you construct that outline. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to click Sermon Outliner. This is what it looks like. If you have a document of all of your notes, you can literally just click that button and upload whatever document you wish to upload. If you don't have that, you can just paste it in here. You can choose the version that you want to construct your message with. We're going to stick with the NLT today, and give it some additional details like story points or analogies that you want to make sure you include, etc. So all I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I can take the faith over fear. I'm going to take this faith over fear notes. Now, these are my cryptic notes. It's just notes that God gave me in the middle of the night or while I was in my car or whatever, and you just kind of brain dump in here, right? So I've got the statement, fear talks loud, but faith usually starts as a whisper. Need to listen to the right voice. Faith over fear, not the absence of fear, but the decision to trust anyway. Here's some scripture ideas. We got these from the Verse on Demand. God has not given the spirit of fear. Fear not, I am with you. Jesus is asleep in the storm. Peter walking on water. I mean, these are just cryptic notes, just thoughts that came to my mind. Fear equals focus issue. Faith equals focus corrected. Fear asks, what if this fails? What if I'm not enough? What if I just was thinking all the questions that you ask when you're fearful. And then faith answers it with God is with me. God spoke before the storm started, etc. And then I just talk about my experience buying land in Tennessee. I bought almost 59 acres. It's a little scary, and I give that story. And then another thought was the Africa visa situation. We got all the way to Africa, and we didn't actually. Some of us almost didn't make it in because of the visa situation. It came so last second, but God provided. I gave a few statements about those stories, just very vague. Visas came through the morning of the flight, right? Just some thoughts, right? Just some nuggets. And then a couple possible analogies, some key lines like fear wants proof before obedience, leader spangle, blah, 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 blah. So all of this, just cryptic notes. I'm going to highlight all of this and faith, including the title. I'm going to hit copy. Then I'm going to go back to the Faith Toolbox. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to enter the topic or scripture of your sermon, right? It's not just the topic or scripture. I'm going to do the whole thing. Actually, if you wanted to use it correctly, you can do faith over fear is the name of it. And then the rest of this, the scripture ideas, I'm going to take that. Well, let's just do this. Let's take all of this again and move it to additional details because that's what it's for. And then I'm going to move the title up to where it's supposed to go. And I'm going to also take the scriptures, I'm just going to highlight those and cut those and then put it up here. Okay, so now we've got our scriptures in there. We've got additional details, which is all of the stuff I just showed you. It's all my notes, right? Again, you can attach a document here, which could be your notes, or you can just paste it in there, okay? And now we're going to click Create Outline. Now, what it's going to do is going to take all my notes, all my thoughts, everything that God gave me, right? This is not giving it to me. This is what God gave me, but it's going to organize all those thoughts, connect the dots, create a flow, and create an impact for your message that's going to help get everybody on the same page. All right. So here you go. The results sermon title Moving While Fear is Talking. You don't have to keep that. You can keep it or you can change it. You know, we had faith over fear. We'll keep it with faith over fear, but you can do what you want. The key passages, these are the ones that we gave it earlier. Again, I included the breakdown button. So if you want to continue your study after you get this, you can. You can just click breakdown, get even more. Sermon summary. Faith is not the absence of fear, but the decision to trust God, even when fear is at its loudest. It gives you a great sermon summary. And then the hook. This is the introduction. If you're not preaching with the hook in the beginning, you're already behind. You want to hook the people, get them listening, get them on the edge of their seat, right? You're communicating a message, and it should be your passion to communicate that message. You are on assignment. So it starts with a hook. Think about driving at night on a long, dark highway. Your headlights don't show you the destination, and they don't show you the whole trip. They only show you enough road for the next stretch, but that's enough to keep you moving. Fear is like someone demanding the whole map before they'll even put the car in drive. Faith is like those headlights. It gives you just enough light to take the next step. And it gives you the context, right? Again, this is just to help you. You can rewrite it, you can adjust it, you can scrap it if you want, but this is a great sermon outline starter. It gives you the main points. Fear is a focus issue. Presence over protection. Leadership requires moving through the noise. Gives you the relevant scriptures for those topics, and it explains fear is a focus issue, right? So it explains that. Then it gives you an illustration, and it's using my experiences that I wrote down in my notes. It put it in there. It put it in there. Then it goes to point number two, presence over protection. We sometimes think faith means God will prevent the storm, but in Mark chapter 4, Jesus was right there in the boat and the storm still happened. Yo, the storm still happened even while Jesus was in the boat. His presence doesn't stop the storm, but it gets you through it, right? Presence over protection. And it gives you the illustration about the visa. I put in the story about the visa and how we almost didn't get the visas in time. And it applied it to my notes and the scripture. Then point number three, leadership requires moving through the noise. Explanation. People are watching how we handle fear. So people are watching you, whether it's your family, your church team, your employees, your students, they're observing your feet more than your words. So it gives you that leadership moment, right? And then an illustration again, it takes those experiences that I gave it and it applied it to the message. And then it gives you the conclusion. We've seen that fear reveals our focus, but faith reminds us who is with us, right? Again, you can strengthen this sermon however you wish. It just puts it all together, and now you can start filling in the blanks, enhancing it if you want, etc., etc. But this leads us to our next tool, Sermon Enhancer. You can come over here and click on Sermon Enhancer, or you can just click this button. We have the whole sermon right here, but now we're going to click Enhance Outline. And what it's going to do is going to take this entire outline and it's going to give you even more stuff, more scripture, more relevant analogies. It's going to give you some additional hooks or catchphrases that's going to help people remember, right? What are they remembering? But you get to pick them all. So, okay, so here's the outline. And now we have what we call enhancements, additional scriptures. And maybe there's a little overlap. We already have 2 Timothy 1:7 in there, but maybe we want to include Psalm 56:3. So we just check that box. Here's some illustrations. The headlight analogy. Driving at night doesn't require seeing the whole map. The Tennessee land story. I think that's already in there. How about a quote? Courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. I like that. Let's put that in there. The airplane analogy. Passengers don't need to understand the physics of flight or the pilot's resume to sit down. They simply trust the design and the person in control. I like that. Let's add that to the sermon. Now, there's some more word studies. Remember the breakdown in the Greek and the Hebrew? It included that because it wasn't in the outline to start with. So maybe we want to add that. Maybe we want to get a little deeper in 2 Timothy 1:7 and talk about timidity. So I'm going to add that one. And maybe we'll do one more. Faith, pistis, translated as faith. It involves a settled persuasion or a conviction that God is reliable and his word is true. Let's go with that one. Creative elements. When the wind begins to blow, trust the God who is in the know. So these are just some hooks, some rhymes, some catchphrases that might help people remember the point. Fear wants proof before you start. Faith obeys with a trusting heart. I like that one. Let's put that one in there. Here, it always gives you a few acronyms. Fear, focus exaggerates apparent realities. That's good. Focus exaggerates apparent realities. Faith, forward action in trusting Him. God guarantees our deliverance. New title, the headlight principle. It gives you a couple of suggestions for a new title. Shaking knees and steady steps. Ooh, I like that. Shaking knees and steady steps. I'm gonna switch it to that. New title voice, recognition, choosing who to listen to. New title, the focus factor. When fear talks loud. Okay, so now you've got all of these additional enhancements that you can choose. Once you choose what you want, you just click revise sermon. It's going to revise the entire outline again, but this time it's going to include some of this. So it's just going to make it even stronger. You can take a look at it and it's going to be right on point. Okay, so now it's done. So it's revised the whole thing. It hasn't changed it completely, but it enhanced it with those enhancements. So now when you look through, well, first off, remember we changed the sermon title, Shaking Knees and Steady Steps. So now everything kind of pushes towards that theme. What is it? Shaking Knees and Steady Steps. So fear is a focus issue. It goes into the explanation again, but this time, if you look, the biblical concept of faith or pistis, which is in the Greek, isn't just a vague hope. So now it's including that Greek and Hebrew context, right? So now you've got that in the Greek, and you can really show the congregation where this scripture is coming from. And then it gives you an illustration. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. Remember, we added that, but it still incorporated my story about buying almost 59 acres. Presence over protection. Again, it added the think of the airplane analogy. Passengers don't need to understand the physics of flight. So now it's incorporating that analogy into presence over protection. And it goes through all the way through and it adds everything we wanted to. So what a great outline. That's a great start. I can just kind of manipulate it or massage it a little bit, change some of the things. Obviously, I'm not one that preaches my sermons word for word, but I'm going to study this outline. It's going to become what my message is, and then I'm going to just use it as a reference from there on out. Now, we can also plan a worship set. If you're wanting some relevant songs, I wouldn't probably plan the entire worship set, but if you click plan worship set, it's going to give you some relevant songs to this sermon and theme. So now it's sourcing hymns, it's going to go through all the different, like 3 different styles, from hymns to contemporary worship to even modern worship, and it's going to find some songs that would be relevant to this sermon. So let's see what it finds. It's sourcing hymns and contemporary worship songs right now as we speak, and here you go. So in a traditional hymn, "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus" makes sense if you're talking about faith over fear. So sweet to trust in Jesus. You can watch it on YouTube if you need to refresh your memory on that song, or if you want to, if maybe you don't know the song, you want to and hear it, you can do that. It also ties in the connection, why it is relevant to your song. "Be Still My Soul." Now, as far as contemporary worship songs, Zach Williams has a good song called "Fear is a Liar." You can click on watch on YouTube and it's going to give you that song. Oceans by Hillsong United, "Steady Heart." And then it gives you suggested service elements like a call to worship. In my church, we used to always open up with a verse or something, or somebody would come up and do an opening scripture. So this gives you an opening scripture that would lead right into uh, your worship set or your sermon itself. Okay, and then also maybe a closing song. So you can do all of that right here from the sermon enhancer or sermon outliner toolbox. Okay, so that is the sermon outliner. I also showed you the sermon enhancer. I hope that helps you. It's not to replace you building your sermon, it's to enhance it, strengthen it, speed it up so that you can spend more time presenting it, being with your family, being with the church, etc. All right. Hope that helps you. Go get your account right now, absolutely free. faithtoolbox.com. We'll see you on the inside.